Hello, hi, I'm Eddie Obeng, and this is How. Daily, I bring you a different way to shape your world, really focusing on how to make things happen. So today I'm going to share with you something which will affect about 15% or more of your time. It's called Hopes and Fears. It's a way of trying to make sure every time you engage with anyone, something useful comes out. Let's jump onto Cube and have a look. So welcome to Cube, where the sun is always shining, as I say. And over here, we've got whiteboard. Let's go and have a look at that. This is Hopes and Fears. Let me tell you the backstory to this. If you know my work, you'll know that I talk about the old world and then the new world. And the old world is where the pace of change was lower than the ability to learn. And the new world is where it flips over, basically. Let me put a sticky note so I can shake the sticky note around and show you. So my first inkling of this was actually a conversation I had one afternoon with my father-in-law, Philip Ross. And he said to me, oh, I remember the first meeting I went to, because at that time I just gone to work at Ashridge and he knew I was teaching managers. And I said, what? And he said, yes. Basically, he joined the bank, Westminster Bank, out of school, and he worked his way up. And in those days, in a world which changed slowly, the jobs were basically prescribed. They were all fixed. You basically knew what job you were doing. Somebody would show you how to do it. You'd go in and you'd do that job. So that was relatively straightforward. That was the world they lived in. There was no need for meetings because you set up the system. And because the world was changing so slowly, everything had a long sell-by date. So you didn't need to meet to discuss anything. There was very little change. If there was, it was put in and then really extended for a long time. But all of a sudden, he was being invited to meetings because he started to experience these two things getting close. And people didn't know what to do in the meeting. I mean, can you imagine that they'd have a Zoom call or a Teams call and nobody would know what it was or what to do and how to behave in it? So that was where basically the whole thing started for him. And for me, that was a big breakthrough. And then I was teaching at Ashridge and we were teaching people things like how to run meetings, how to be managers. This is a clip from the John Cleese Disorganized Manager, where they're waiting for the disorganized manager to turn up for a meeting. So meetings are not an act of God. There used to be parlays in wars where people would come together to see whether they could resolve something. But now it's become part of our world as the world has sped up. And at the moment, according to AI anyway, about 15% of an average organization's time is spent in meetings, with about 10 full weeks of your time being burned in meetings. I think these are underestimates, if you ask me. This is a joke which sort of sums the whole meeting culture up, which it says, hate having to make decisions, rather talk about it than do anything, then why not hold a meeting? You can get to meet other people, sleep in peace, offload activities. I mean, it's just a joke, but it's absolutely serious. Most people take other work to meetings. I forgot what the statistic is, but if you're on a Teams or Zoom call, chances are 90% of the people are doing something else in the background. So there's something wrong with meetings, and there's something wrong in the fact we need meetings because the world has sped up, so we have to line people up, but we haven't figured out how to make meetings work. And when the word speeds up, some of the things we learned from the old world, like make sure you have an agenda, make sure that you write minutes, suddenly it doesn't work anymore because the agenda was made last month and it's now out of date, and the minutes are written by somebody who's got an agenda of their own. So this is my bubble diagram. Go and look up that pet of why meetings fail. Many meetings become talking shops. Many people take other work to meetings. Meetings never address the actual elephant in the room. I'm just putting a sticky so I can point it so you can see where I'm looking. Okay. And then I've tried to map out the reasons why the agendas are irrelevant by the time we get to the meeting. That's not surprising. Agendas don't actually tackle the issues which you need today. The agenda setter was too busy, so they didn't upload things. Then there was other stuff like there was no capture of actions and decisions because there's no clarity on what was decided last week. So and it goes on. I mean, these are things you'll recognize. Like, for example, people expect issues and big concerns to be ignored because they're too contentious to deal with in a meeting. Asking people, what particular things they want is rarely ever insightful because they just say the right things. And there's stuff here like people know that the answers they should be giving are what they should give rather than what they should actually focus on. So typical meetings, these are all in the background, always, every time. Make your own bubble diagram. But for mine, I then realized that what I needed to do was gain confirmation of the new agenda at the start of the meeting. We had to capture the hopes of what people wanted at that particular time. We needed to make sure that anything which was learned would be shared in the meeting and useful. We also need to capture the fears, the things which people thought you'd miss out, and we needed to resolve any concerns they had early so they wouldn't get distracted and do other work. So what that led to was the PET, which underpins this: capture the hopes, capture the fears, resolve the fears early, arrange to make the hopes and turn them into agenda, make sure everybody participates. And that's what came of this bubble diagram. So that's how we created this particular PET. In fact, that's how all PETs are built. They're built from causality maps, bubble diagrams. And so the one which you'll recognize is this. This is the one which we use face-to-face. Get everyone to tell us their hopes and fears, either individually or in groups, then capture the big hopes and fears, and then kill off the fears. Why? Because that gives you not just the removal of the fears, but also you get ground rules. Ground rules are, this is how we're going to behave. When we're on Cube, of course, we're working with stickies like I am now. So we get everyone to write a sticky. And of course, it's really fast because even if there are 20 people, it still takes 30 seconds of sticky writing. Whereas in real life, if you're talking, it takes a long time to go around everyone, okay? So you capture all the hopes, then you capture all the fears. And once you've captured all the hopes and fears, then what you do is you work out the ground rules together. If we don't want it to overrun, what must we do? If we don't want people to talk too much, what must we do? And then you apply some of the other PETs like spin casting, which you should read up about, so that everyone gets a chance to be involved. Hopes and fears, honestly, this will save you a lot of time. It'll save you emotion, it'll save you energy, and it's something which is really well worth doing. It began with a chance conversation with my father-in-law, Philip Ross, and it evolved into a bubble diagram when I noticed how people were struggling, and it ended up as probably the most popular PET I've ever created. I walk into organizations and they'll be doing hopes and fears, and I'll go, "Oh, yippee, you're using my hopes and fears." And they go, no, we've always had this one. No, I taught them maybe 5-10 years ago, and they're still doing it, and it's wonderful, and it makes a big difference. Do it with every engagement you have. If it's a phone call, say, "What would you like on this call? What don't you want me to waste your time on?" If it's a group together, capture the hopes and fears. Always eliminate the fears, and you'll move much faster. So that's it. Read the quick guide, put it into practice now, today. There is always the newsletter. Do subscribe, get your colleagues to subscribe, get them to read the back issues of the newsletter so they can catch up and be as wise as you are. And I've been Eddie Obeng. Thank you very much. And I'll see you again probably tomorrow on How.